Alright guys, welcome back. Congratulations, you guys are done this course. Now, you may feel a little, hopefully not underwhelmed. Hopefully I've taught you a ton of new stuff and skills. However, you may feel underprepared to start doing this as a profession, and the secret is, so did I. I think when you start something new, you're always going to feel a little nervous, maybe even excited, but you may feel like you're not ready. And so I wanted to provide you guys with some tips that I wish somebody had told me when I started doing this. So I'm going to tell you guys a little story about how I got started doing this, and then I'm going to show you guys what mistakes I made, and hopefully I can help you guys not make the same mistakes. So it started back in 2012. Well, no, it started way before that. So growing up, my mother always worked from home, so I knew it was a possibility, and that just seemed normal to me. A lot of people that you talk to, if you ask them if there's a legitimate way to work at home, they'll say no. It's all scams and stuff like that. And that's the mentality that the world still has about this kind of thing. So that's something different that when I grew up, mom, she worked through, it was a company called Bowden's Media, and she basically transcribed news stories for them, and then they printed them, in newspapers and stuff. So that was pretty different. Now, when I got older, I started working in, my first jobs were in fast food and a pizzeria, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And then I started working in call centers. And I worked for different companies, telecommunications, cable companies, stuff like that, doing technical support. And I kind of fell into what I call the call center circuit, where your next job is obviously going to be a call center because that's what you do. And so I was working at one specific call center, which was a web hosting company doing server support. And I decided that I didn't want to, because I had taught myself how to write HTML and CSS when I was 15, and that's something that I kind of played around with, and I also learned PHP, and this was all hobby at that point. So I took on a job. It was a very small job that I found on a site called Odesk, I believe it was, or Elance. Those were the two freelancing sites for stuff like this, for programming and stuff. And it was to build a site for this guy, modern day Pathfinders, and I took it on. It was a full website build. He wanted me to build it for like $500. Now I was doing this on the side, so I did it. And then since then, I'm going to go to the site. They had another developer come in and change stuff, so this is not my site right here. But this is the company that I developed my first site for, and it was, for dirt cheap. And then this was in August of 2012, I think. And then in December, I decided, you know what, I could probably do this for a living. I could do this professionally. I have the skills, and the work is there. Obviously, I had already got a job. So I decided, and my girlfriend was really supportive, and the plan was, if I wasn't able to do it within a month, so the plan was I was going to quit my call center job and try this. And if after a month nothing worked out, then I would just, go back and find another job somewhere else. A real job, like working at a department store, for instance. And I got some jobs. So that's what started me, and right away I got jobs. But the thing that the trap I was falling into was that I was I was underpaying myself, or I was bidding for jobs, and this is also a problem with freelancer sites as well. Like, Odesk and Elance, they both merged into Upwork, and I use the site sometimes to get clients. And a trap that you're probably going to be inclined to fall into is to undersell yourself. And so it's a job bidding process. A client will post a job that they have to do. They'll put their estimated budget, say 500 or so, and then you'll get a lot of people bidding less than that. And essentially, the mentality is probably going to be, well, I should bid lowest so that, the client will pick me because everyone likes to pay less. And that's what I was doing for a while. And I had a string of really bad jobs with really bad clients, for really bad money. And the reason is because I was saying, let me do this job for this amount. And they were like, okay. So that's the one thing that you don't want to fall into. And so the technicality around that specifically is that you get what you pay for, and people realize that on a subconscious level. So even if someone, if someone, if a client comes along, and it depends on the job, but let's say they want a whole website built, 7 to 10 pages, and they want it done for less than $500. Avoid that client, because that client, they don't have a very big budget, and basically these people are going to be the kind of people who, they don't appreciate or value what type of work goes into making a website. Now, if you're living in a country overseas and $500 is enough to live off for you, then if it makes sense from that perspective, go for it. But if you're living in North America like me, it's hard to compete sometimes with overseas developers who don't need as much money as we need to live, just because of the economy difference. And so what I started doing was I increased my rates. I think I was initially charging like $15 an hour, and around here the minimum wage was like 10. So I mean that seemed pretty good. But then you got all this in between time where you're actually not working, but you're working towards working, like you're updating your portfolio, or you're doing meetings with potential clients and stuff. And so that $15 an hour actually didn't turn out to be $15 an hour, 40 hours a week. So what I did was I increased my rate to $35 an hour, and I got this awesome job with an awesome client with a bigger budget, because he was one of those people who understood that, wow, he looked at my portfolio and saw what kind of things that I built, and he's like, well, this matches. So let's do this. And he understood that you get what you pay for. And I think everybody really does. And if somebody doesn't understand that, then that's the kind of person that you don't want to work with. So that's my first tip, is don't undersell yourself. And it took me a while to realize that. I think for a period of like 2 years, I was doing that. And then I increased my rates, and then I did it again. And now I recently did it again. And my rate that I work for now is $80 an hour typically. However, I'm open to negotiation most times, and I'm working on a project now for $50 an hour. And then, sites like Upwork, they take their percentage out of it. So it ends up to be like $45 an hour. So that's my first tip, is don't undersell yourself. Look up geographically, the most common rates for a developer or a designer or whatever you're going to get into, and then charge along those lines. If you're new, you might want to charge a bit less, but not too much. You don't want to undersell yourself and undervalue yourself, because you will not be happy. Now, the second tip is, this course just provides you with a foundation to build on. I have not taught you every single thing that you're going to need to know, or every single thing that you can know. So the second tip here is, you need to be open and really excited, or enthusiastic rather, about constant learning, because technology is a field that constantly evolves and changes. If you look at websites from 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago, and then go look at modern websites, you're going to see a huge difference, and you're obviously going to like the newer websites, because things are progressing and they're getting better constantly. So one of the things I want you guys to look at to increase your, graphic inclination, or your intuition when it comes to building, a graphic or how things look, you need to check out material design, because this is a system that gives you every little detail. It tells you how much padding should be on the insides of buttons, for instance. when an object should have a box shadow to make it appear on a different layer. It gives you all this kind of information. So go to material.io. I want you guys to learn this and build stuff with this. Let me... There should be a learning... They've completely changed this site, but this site will show you, if we can find it, documentation. Oh, they're showing you how to use a material framework, so that might be, even easier. The first thing I want you to do is learn material design, and let me just search materials specs here. Here we go. So this is the page that you want to look at, material.io/guidelines. And if you look at components, let's go ahead and look at buttons, and it will describe in detail what buttons are supposed to do and how they're supposed to look. You can have raised buttons, etc. And the reason I want you guys to learn this is not because this is the only type of thing I want you to, design in. That's obviously completely up to you. But it's a really good spot to continue learning and to really get that attention to detail that you're going to need. Because attention to detail in this field is very, very important. Now, this is if you're going to be focusing on front-end development, which is how things look. If you're going to be designing, then you obviously need to be good at designing. And so material design gives you more to think about and reasons why certain things look a certain way. For instance, right here, it shows you how much margin is around them and even the padding inside and the rounding on the button. They say 2 dp corner radius, the font size, etc. They will go into great detail to show you guys how these buttons should look, and this will help you guys a lot. So check out material design. Now the second part of that is just look at any website you use and inspect it. So I'm going to go to Amazon.com here. And let's just search for something. There we go. So we can see the results here, and they look right. And so you guys can just sit down and analyze websites and look at them and find out why they look good. The spacing between the items, the font sizes, the position of things. Just go have a look at the web and have a great time doing it. Now, with those 2 points out of the way, you're essentially ready to jump in and start doing things in this field. And I encourage you guys to, because sometimes the only way that you can really get into something is by just jumping in, and just starting to do it. So what I would recommend, I'm going to show you guys here Upwork.com. This is the site that I use sometimes to obtain clients. And you're going to register and log in, and basically you can just, go through kind of like results, kind of like this page right here of job postings, and you can look at them and just hit submit a proposal. Then you write out a little, hi, I'm this person, I do this, this, and this, and I can help you in this way. So when you are bidding for jobs, you need to be quick, direct, to the point, and you need to let them know why they need you. Now, I have a sense of humor, and so sometimes I do this in a humorous way. I refer to myself as a Jedi Master of programming. So those are some tips to get you guys set up. I really hope that you enjoyed this course, and if you guys want to learn some more things that are going to be useful, I'm going to list them right now, I guess. So React.js is a front-end framework. It's a JavaScript library built by Facebook that you have components that you write in JavaScript and it renders into HTML on the fly. And now you can reuse components and you can update them really easily. And so that's why React is good. Now, another one along the same lines is Angular. And AngularJS essentially does the same way. You get components that you create and you write them in JavaScript. Or you write them in HTML and you can update them with JavaScript. And you can do some really neat things by using the ng properties there. So check out Angular and React. Obviously, Bootstrap is a big thing, but there's Bootstrap alternatives as well. And then the final thing, one of the big things about web development is PHP. A lot of websites, the back end, the programming bit is written in PHP. Now, I would like to put on a PHP course, so I may do that, and you guys will all get notified if and when that happens. But at this point, you guys know the basics. You have a firm understanding of how the web and websites work, and you also know how to write in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So that's a great starting point, and I hope you guys do well.